Hello.
Hello.
Hi, how's it going?
Fine. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Thank you very much for taking the time to do this interview.
Thank you.
I'm very glad to be able to do this. As a longtime fan of your work, it's awesome to see that you're still continuing on strong and have a brand new collection of songs that's going to be coming out already next week. I mean, it's so cool to see all these songs together.
Thank you. It's a pleasure for me too. Um, it's been quite a long time since I stopped playing with Hammerfall, and I did some solo work and also metal work with other artists and bands. But to make my own rock album, it's really a pleasure. And it's the first time I do the rock album with my name. So I did so many records with the solo work, but never with the rock album. And now it's time to rock the world again.
Oh, absolutely. So, thinking about that, I mean, obviously, with the amazing resume and clientele that you've worked with so many great rock and metal musicians, what was it like to put this together and decide what kind of style you were going to be going for on this album?
Yes, this album is a celebration for other bands and artists that I listened to through my music life. And I played music for 45 years, only bass, and um, my influences is of course from the 60s all the way to today. And on this album, you can feel these flavors. It's very wide, but everything is served on a rock table. So the ground is, of course, hard rock music, but it's also flavors from the 60s.
Yeah, that's one thing I really noticed and really appreciated about this album is the variety on this album. I mean, there's some heavier moments on here, there's some more poppy moments going on here, there's some great rock and roll moments going on, hard rock moments. There's a little bit of everything, and I really appreciate that.
Thank you. This is a different album, of course, and I hope and I wish this will be an album you can play many, many times. Um, it's have so many ingredients, if I can say like this. Um, um, so if you have listened to the album 10 times, maybe you always will find something new in it, new light on certain spots. And it's for me, it's a celebration to all the rock musicians and bands out there in the world.
So thinking about that as well too, I mean, obviously wanting to celebrate all these different styles that you either grew up listening to or were a part of or things that you just enjoy in your spare time. What was it like deciding what songs to be able to actually record?
It's a good question, of course. um, it's of course um, my love to certain song and my passion for certain feelings in the different songs, and it's like different stones that you build a house, if you know what I mean. And um, I don't like to build something that is like one stone and everything sounds almost the same. It's nothing wrong with that, but I like to have different colors on all the stones. And this is like a firework, if you know what I mean.
Oh, for sure. I mean, you see different colors throughout this album, different variety, and yeah, I mean, just like going through the track list. I mean, I really appreciate your takes on these songs that I'm familiar with, some that I wasn't familiar with, but got to appreciate more because of your take on it. I mean, there's a lot going on here, and like you mentioned previously, it's the kind of album where I feel like if you do listen to it over and over, you will be able to pick up on more of what's going on, whether it's just a little bit of a style change, whether it's just a different take on something. Of course, it's not a completely different take, but you get to hear little nuances that are so fun to listen to and be able to catch on to later.
Beautiful words. I take my hat off.
So thinking about that as well too, I mean, obviously, again, like I've mentioned, I mean, you've worked with so many great musicians over the years, and you have an amazing list of musicians that are a part of this album. What was it like to get them involved?
Of course, it was a big pleasure. So I asked around for just that that musician that I wanted for just this song. Of course, it's some musicians that's in the band, Magnus Rosen band, and their playing you can find everywhere on the album. But this different guest was so fun for me to be able to pick. Example, Janne Schaffer, he recorded 50 songs with ABBA. He played with Bob Marley. He did a lot of fusion stuff. And he's also older than me and did much more thing than me. And to ask him to join, it's fantastic. And mix his playing with, for an example, Tony Martin's voice from the old Black Sabbath. Of course, after Ozzy Osbourne and Dio. But and me, like, with my background, like a metal bass player, it's so interesting mix, and everything turns out to rock music in different levels of hard or softer or.
Oh, for sure. And yeah, I gotta say, your playing on this album is exceptional to me. I love the fact that it feels like you're going through different bass tones here, you're going through different styles of bass on here, and I can really hear that you're having fun with the variations of it rather than feeling like you just had to stick to one particular style. You're showing so much of what you're capable on the bass, and it's so great to hear that.
Thank you. Your words is gold for my heart. Thank you.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. And yeah, going back to what you were talking about before, I mean, the fact that you were working with musicians, that inspired you in the past. I mean, it's so great to see that. Like Tony Martin. I mean, I love what he was able to accomplish on this album with you. And yeah, I mean, just like it feels like everyone that was able to contribute to this album, whether they're playing one song or they're playing on the entire album, it feels like they're really meant to be a part of this. I mean, it doesn't feel like it was just thrown in just to be thrown in. It feels
Oh,
so natural.
thank you. Yes, uh, all the musicians I ask answer me with passion and with an yes. So I also feel that no one record just to record. I really felt that people put their own emotion and feelings in the playing. So that is what music is about: emotion and feelings. It's one thing to maybe play perfect or exact, but it's magic to play with feelings.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many great examples of that in rock and metal music in particular, where you don't always need to necessarily play to a click track. You can just go off a feel, especially in a live setting. Like sometimes for a night, it feels good to go a little bit faster, or it feels good to go a little bit slower. You get to be in that moment rather than feeling like you have to follow a strict guideline.
That is my belief too. Music shall moves. Um, it needs to move. when it feels like you say, like in the chorus, maybe you turn up the beat a little because you like to make the chorus strong, and you know what I mean. And maybe you also think it's nice to be a little bit laid back, example in the verse. So I believe music must have a life, and a life you create without click track. But people can do whatever they want. But I believe play natural.
Oh yeah, and it totally depends on the style of music too.
Yes, yes,
Sometimes working with a click track is the appropriate thing, and it makes everything the way it should be. And with other styles of music, being able
yes,
to just go off the hi hat or just the feeling of the drums or the bass, for example, like you can set the tempo sometimes, and just going off of what feels right for that. And again, like I'm thinking about it now, just like going back throughout the album and listening to that, I can hear so many moments of that where it just feels like being able to appreciate the fact that you didn't have to follow a strict guideline with the songs. You were able to just make them your own.
yeah, yes. That is for me very important. And of course, like you say, if you play like certain kind of metal, it fits really great with the metronome click. But when you play other kind of music, it needs to move around a little. So it's a passion, these recordings.
Oh, for sure. And that's got me thinking about that too. I mean, obviously, some of these songs, it's like you were able to record for this particular album for the first time, and other songs, in particular, "Hearts on Fire," it's the second time that you got to be able to record this to a record. I mean, what's it like to be able to take a song that you've recorded in the past and be able to do it again here for 2023?
Yes, that's of course a lot of fun. Why I did that was, first of all, I will say thank you for my 10 years in Hammerfall, and thank you to all the fans that made Hammerfall grow. So that's important. So it's like to take my hat off for these 10 years and say thank you. And it was a pleasure and fun for me to just record that song. And of a coincidence, this song was recorded 20 years ago this year. So it's even a little bit extra, I think.
It is. It was a really nice surprise because when I first listened to this, I didn't look at the press release. I just wanted to listen to the album from start to finish and then go back and read it. So, a few tracks in, I started hearing a song I was very familiar with, and then being able to hear "Hearts on Fire." I mean, it took me by surprise, but it was a very good surprise, and I love the fact that you have such a great fondness for that song to be able to play it again and show that that's still a part of you, that's been a part of your life, and you're able to show off all these different sides. And again, it is like a firework, like you mentioned before. It's just another color that's a part of this amazing palette.
Yes, yes. Um, when I decide to record that song, all my memories was back, and it was so beautiful, nice 10 years when I thinking about all the fans. You know, in certain countries, people arrived at the airport when we landed with the plane, and people showed us so much love and great emotions. And like you say, that is a part, it's a part of my life. It's 10 years of my 45 years old musicianship.
Oh, for sure. And the great thing about this is the more they listen to it, there's so much to appreciate about it. This isn't even it for 2023. You have some more material that's coming up as well.
Yes, people who knows that I did a lot of instrumental albums before, I did that because I thought it was so fun to see what I could do with the bass instrument. My platform in all my life always was rock, like rock music, and I am a rock bass player, but I like to make journeys to new forests, new landscape of music, and learn and come back with good things in my bag, if you know what I mean. So yes.
Oh yeah. And I'm very excited to see what that's going to entail. I mean, especially with what you've been able to accomplish before, and it's been a bit since there's been new material. I'm very excited to see what's going to be coming of that as well. I mean, the fact that we got an album where you get to celebrate so much music from your past, whether you've recorded it, whether it's things that you've been able to appreciate, but now new music of instrumental music, which I imagine is going to be following that trend of being able to show off everything that you're capable of, being able to show all this variety in sound, and just making the music that you want to make.
Yeah, this instrumental album is like all this, like I say, the forest or landscape, or it's my journeys I did in different directions, and I really like to take it with me somehow, but only for the listeners that is interesting in instrumental music, because this is different outside the rock box. There you make a journey to folk music, but you still have some flavor of the rock music here and there. You also make a journey to some pop, example, some riffs from Michael Jackson, and then you go over to fusion. It's so fun for a musician who can be free to do these kind of things. And I am free in my bass playing, if you know what I mean. I need to search different ways and different levels, different emotions in the music, and then I take everything, this journey, I take everything back, and that is me, like a bass player and a musician, all this together. So this is like a big piece of art, I can say, with a lot of colors from different places in emotion and music styles.
So thinking about that as well too, I mean, obviously with being able to explore so many different styles of music, far beyond what even rock and metal, being able to explore folk and fusion and pop, like what were those challenges for you to be able to learn those different styles? Was there like any particular hurdles that came along with that, or did it start to become natural the more that you started doing it?
Yeah, it's natural, I think. It's like how I am, like a person. I I am have an open mind, and it's like you come to a table full with Christmas food. This is the music table, and you have like rock is the meat, and the classical music is maybe the salad, or if you know what I mean. And I don't like to have only ham on my table. I like to have everything, and I like to test everything and see what I can get from it. So it's more that person I am. I'm not scared to take new steps and see if I handle it or not, if you know what I mean. So the whole my life, I took new steps, not only steps that other people have walked, if you know what I mean.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
so that's really interesting. It's make me like an adventure. Adventure, yes.
So
Sorry for
thinking
my
about
English.
oh, not a problem at all. So thinking about that as well, like being on these adventures and being an adventurer when it comes to music, like what's been your favorite journey so far when you're discovering these different styles of music? Like, did you have like a favorite style that you started learning?
My platform is rock music. That's my platform. I always work from this platform. And it's so many different journeys. Example, when you play with a symphonic orchestra, uh, I never went to school to learn bass playing. Everything I learned by myself, and to meet people who went to school many years to play the instruments, that was, of course, a really interesting moments. And I was, of course, impressed of them, but they were impressed of me because I didn't have the sheets and this. And um, it's also interesting to play um, like um, like the folk music that there you can feel a little bit your roots. And I think all people in all nations, I think they must be careful with the roots and not forget the roots, especially today when some certain powers in this world try to make everything flat and and erase the different roots we have. I think it's beautiful that we are different, and the folk music take these feelings. Um, 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 it make anyway me. Um, um, I feel when I play the Swedish folk music, I feel my roots and the stories behind the songs that tells how it was a few hundred years ago. I think it's important. Um, all nations have their folk music, and it sounds different, and it's so interesting. So I have hard to pick a certain moment what's most interesting. I think everything is interesting in different ways.
Oh yeah, and that does make so much sense too, because especially when you love that adventure, when you love exploring different music, whether you're just listening to it for your own benefits, or you want to be able to learn it, or you want to be able to, in your example, being able to learn something new on the bass, being able to learn new bass techniques or different scales, or there's so many different things that can go around with that. And just part of that fun is just being able to be so open-minded that you can appreciate all these different styles and being able to incorporate them as needed. I mean, you don't always need to throw everything against the wall and see what sticks, but when you become an artist and you know what colors work together, what you want to be able to mix together, what styles can work, and there's so much that you can learn from that. And I love the fact that you are so open-minded to be able to appreciate all the music around you.
Thank you. That is what I call a rock soul. You do what you want. You're not scared to be the person you are. And I think it's beautiful when people can feel um, this power in themselves. I do what I want. I don't need to do this because the other ones do like this. And this is also one of the message I have, is to believe yourself. It's to stay free, and especially this time when the world is so upside down. Rock is, it make revolutions. From the beginning, when the rock come from the blues, and the blues come from the slaves, and the slaves like a revolution with the music, and then the hard workers uh, um, took the rock music and raised the flag, and made them feel the power and the unit together. I think that is more important than ever, that rock music stands up now, if you know
Yeah.
what I mean.
Oh, absolutely. And I was just going to say that brings it all the way back to this particular album that we're talking about. And the title of it, It's Time to Rock the World Again. I mean, it feels like that being able to bring that right back to it. It's just like we live in such dark times right now. We've lived in such dark times over the last few years. And even if it's just in the case of like music or being able to shift the world, it is a great message. It is time to rock the world again.
Yeah, exactly. That's the message. Exactly. You you
Oh.
you you catch it straight away, really clear. That's the message. It's time to rock the world again.
Oh, fantastic. It's a message I can absolutely get behind. And I hope because of us getting to talk about this, more people are going to be able to check out this album, hopefully be able to appreciate different styles of rock and metal that are going on throughout this album. Obviously a lot of people are going to be checking this out, especially for Hearts on Fire, but I hope they'll be able to appreciate the rest of the album as well too, and being able to see all these different styles, whether it's in the 60s, whether it's a little more modern, whether it's a little more bluesy, whether it's a little more metal. I mean, there's so much to appreciate about this. And the fact that it's already coming out next week, and I've gotten to talk to you about so much about this album and your way of thinking and how to appreciate music and become a better musician and a better human in general, just being so open-minded and being able to appreciate the world around you. It's been a fantastic time being able to talk to you, and I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, and beautiful questions. So let's rock the world again together.